So I was browsing through some TV shows on Peacock and I stumbled upon a show called The Job Interview. The first episode shows several candidates interviewing for an accounting position for a company called Xendoo. After watching this episode, I just had to make a video about it. Get a load of this.
I've interviewed probably 700 people over my career. Our interviews are tough. I wouldn't want to be interviewed by us.
Neither would I, but not because the interview is tough, but because, as you'll see soon enough, it's stupid.
On her, I'm noticing a couple of things that's not great. All of her work experience is very short-term. It just seems like she bounced around a lot.
I know that this is a red flag for a lot of employers, but it really shouldn't be. I mean, people with that kind of employment history also need to pay their bills. I mean, I get it. The employer looks at that and will naturally have doubts about the employee's long-term commitment to the company. And I get that it's not an employer's responsibility to provide all applicants with a job, obviously. However, if all employers think like this, then it will be next to impossible for a person like that to get hired. And the longer that time goes by with the person not having a job, the less desirable that person will be as a candidate. Also, how is it that she's only just noticing this now? There were 120 applicants for this job and 5 of them are being interviewed for this episode. If her bouncing from job to job was such a red flag, then why did she even get an interview in the first place? Anyway, moving on.
Hey, how are you all doing?
Pleasure to meet you. Absolutely.
Nice to meet you, Steve.
So before we get into the meat of it, you gave me like a half handshake. Yeah, here, let's shake my hand
gave me
again.
a stern
There
one.
you go. You gave you a stern one. You gave me kind of a half handshake, and I didn't realize if it was any reason.
My dad always taught me, look me in the eyes and shake a firm hand, and with a lady, you're more gentle.
Wow.
What was that wow for? Is what he said really that unbelievable? It's not that hard to believe that men tend to have stronger grip strength than women. If he had used his normal grip, I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts she'd be criticizing his handshake for being too firm. Women can be so hard to figure out. One day they complain that you're not treating them like you would a guy. And the next day, the same women will complain about how chivalry is dead and how come there aren't any gentlemen out there anymore. I mean, this is the same lady who walked through the door first. So she's okay with ladies first, but not a more gentle handshake. Now he, as a guy, has to be some kind of mind reader to know what you may or may not take issue with. Anyway, let's move on to some of the questions that are asked during this interview.
In what order do these 3 areas drive you? Praise, financial, and accomplishment. It's sort of a trick question to begin with. What we're really looking for with that is we want somebody to say accomplishment, financial, and then praise. You know what? Get your praise at home.
Now, if there was a statement to say wow to, it's this one. Get your praise at home? Wow, lady. Yeah, if you want acknowledgement and appreciation for your hard work, you've come to the wrong place, candidate. You won't be getting any compliments or praise from me. I'm too far above you peons for that. Kudos, accolades, I can certainly receive them, but giving them out? No way.
If they say financial first, it makes me wonder why in the world, even if you think financial, don't say that on an interview.
This is true. Interviews are by nature an artificial interaction. I know your career advisors say things like, at a job interview, honesty is the best policy. Yeah, it's the best policy if you're looking to waste your time and not get the job. But yes, that's a good point she brought up. Of course financial is going to be the real, honest answer. Let's face it, who would choose to work an 8-to-5 job if they didn't have to? Everybody works because they have bills to pay. But when you walk into the job interview, you have to act like your entire world revolves around that company and that job. And that money is no object.
As a female mechanic in the Army, you had to know your numbers, center of gravity, the rotation on the blades.
As opposed to male mechanics, which of course, as we all know, didn't have to know about numbers or any of that crap. They just coasted along.
What would be your greatest weakness?
The common tactic with this question is to write a strength, but word it as a weakness. I'm such a perfectionist with my work that I'll give up all of my spare time to make sure my shit gets done at the cost of my own family. Fuck 'em. That's the kind of thing you have to say, right?
What would your pet say about you if we asked for a reference?
Wait a minute, who said I had a pet? I don't. Secondly, even if I did, it would probably say something like this. Because pets don't talk. They ask you the most stupid questions at job interviews. But this is an elimination tactic. Your natural reaction to a question like this would be like, what the hell? But any kind of negative reaction in a job interview is the kiss of death.
What a stupid question. But if you actually get asked this in a job interview, you don't want to be like, that, my friend, is how they get you. See, having a negative reaction to anything an interviewer says is the kiss of death.
It's more common to hear something like, what would a critic of you say? Or, if I asked a coworker about you, what would they say? But questions like this are dumb because how am I supposed to know what somebody else would say? I can only guess. Ask them if you want the real answer.
If I asked your co-workers about you, what would they say? The fuck you asking me for? Ask them! Why would you ask me that question, you idiot? In the application, you specifically asked for references, and I provided them. So fucking use them. Right, what would my co-workers say about me? Probably not the nicest things you'd ever hear, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'm not going to tell you that. I've learned my lesson after not lying for the other questions, so I'm going to lie to you. Right, what would they say? I don't know. That I'm sexy as fuck? That's what they'd say. Next question.
You draw us a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done in an interview before.
Now, if this was a job interview for an architect position, then maybe this would make sense. But what does this question have to do with anything? Oh, by the way, look at how dressed up he is versus how casual the women are. This one is sleeveless, and this one has all kinds of cleavage going on. This is the new business professional for women nowadays. I made a video talking more about this phenomenon.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Colombian.
Remember that. I have a feeling this may come into play later.
I've been here living for about 13 years with my mom. She's a single mom, so we've always been trying to help each other out. I've been working, babysitting. I love kids.
Yeah, the people interviewing you couldn't care less about that. When they ask you about yourself, you had better make sure you mention qualities that are related to the job that you're applying for. She just sits there and laughs? Wow. At least stand up to show concern and ask, are you okay? Interview or not, that would be the appropriate thing to do.
It's been 3 days since the interview, and Xendoo is ready to hire their new bookkeeper. They have 2 impressive candidates, but they can only give the job to one.
So it comes down to the white male and the non-white female. Gee, I'm on the edge of my seat in suspense as to who they are going to pick, aren't you? Let's find out.
We'd love to offer you the position.
That's awesome. I'm so happy.
And they went with the Colombian female. What a shock. This must be the white male privilege that we hear so much about. The SJWs are always telling us that white males just have everything handed to them, right? Now, to be fair, I'm not claiming that in this case that was the reason behind why they picked her over him. I am, however, saying if white privilege and male privilege really existed, you would think that he would be chosen because he's a white male. That's the kind of narrative that the SJWs push. But to be honest, if anybody was to have an advantage because of their race and gender, it's non-whites and females. Because there are things like quotas, and companies brag about how diverse they are. They talk about how many females or African Americans that they employ, and they tout that as a badge of honor. So when push comes to shove, all else being equal, there's way more reason to believe that being a white male will work against you. Anyway, if you want to check out the full episode, you can stream it on Peacock. And until next time, I'm out.